Stop me if you heard this one before. Carolina has to slow down an elite scoring guard tonight. Got to get this defense back on track at Stanford.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, January 14th, 2026. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network out there. Thank you so much for making us your first listen or watch of the day. Great to have you. Welcome into all our everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and our insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all playoff long. Visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boosts every game day. Coming up on the show today, of course, we're getting ready for the Stanford game late tonight. Go ahead and get your naps in. Now it's a 9 Eastern tip. Part of it, we're going to look at the biggest storyline for me is Carolina's defense has to get back going and locked in. They're going to be tested in a major way yet again by a high-scoring guard. We'll get to our Four Corners preview, including, my goodness, we cannot let Caleb Wilson do next to nothing in the second half of this game. Got to get going. And then we'll also get to know Stanford a little bit more, make some game predictions and all that. Going to be a lot of fun. Carolina trying to avenge their only loss ever to the Cardinal. That was last season at home. You remember that? That was painful. All right, let's get right into it. The biggest storyline for me. Here we go again. Carolina has to deal with another high level scoring guard. In fact, it's the nation's 8th leading scorer. Oh my goodness. And this dude, maybe you've not heard of him. And if not, baby, now is the time, because this dude in a year of elite freshman is right in that conversation. His name is Ebuka Okorie. He's another freshman. He's getting 22.1 points a game for Stanford. Again, I said that's 8th nationally. It's 2nd in the ACC. He's right behind Cam Boozer, who is the leading scorer in the ACC in the nation, but just ahead of Boopy Miller. And you remember what Boopy Miller just recently did. You saw what happened against Wake Forest high-scoring guards, and now you got to do it all over again. And Carolina has been incapable of slowing those dudes down in the last couple games. Consequently, you've seen Carolina give up their 2 highest point totals of the season. Well, for Ebuka Okorie, 8 games of 25 or more points this season, 9 total 20 or more point games. The dude just pours it on. And so now the Tar Heels have yet another opportunity to say, all right, you know what? We're going to slow you down. It's weird in a season where we have said, hey, North Carolina's calling card, their DNA, what they need to hang their hat on is their defense. And for a vast majority of the season, it's been that way. But now we're going to have to start asking some very serious questions, because you've seen for the last 2 games that defense not do it. And if Stanford is able to continue that trend tonight, then we've got some not just like, that's not outlier status anymore. That's not anomaly status anymore. That is now a trend and something that you got to get figured out. And so for me, that starts and stops with Ebuka Okorie. You've got to take care of this, whether that's Seth or whoever's going to be on him. Will we see a bunch of switching again? Will we see Carolina? Because that to my viewpoint has been a lot of the issue, is that inability when Carolina switches to stay in front of Boopy Miller, to stay in front of Nate Calmise while he's raining threes from on high, to stay in front of Juke Harris from Wake. And so that's what we're watching for. Whether Carolina switches, whether Seth just stays locked into Okorie, can the Tar Heels stay in front? That's something Hubert Davis has harped on over and over and over again in these last 2 games, is we have not just done the simple thing of guarding the man that is right in front of us. And so what that means is it's not just time for Carolina to show up in terms of slowing down Okorie, but this whole Stanford team. I am curious to see If Carolina can get locked back in, if they can do everything they had been doing, and it's not about incapability, it's not about lack of talent. This is about heart and desire and communication. Because again, if the defense is there, it doesn't matter if your offense is doing it. Because if the defense does what they did the first 14 games of the season, you just got to get to 75 points every game and you're good. But if that defense slips, as they have, then it's different. One of the major issues in ACC play is this. You ready for this confounding stat? Carolina, as you know, has been elite this season guarding inside the arc. Right now, the Tar Heels are third in the nation in 2-point field goal percentage defense. Their 3-point percentage defense has been really strong too, but there has been an alarming trend in ACC play. So Carolina's played 16 games now. Through the first 13 games of the season, non-conference play, the Tar Heels gave up double-digit three-pointers twice, just two different teams. It was the Kansas Jayhawks, who are on the TV right now, obliterating Iowa State, by the way. That's great for the Tar Heels. Thank you, Darren Peterson. Keep that rolling. Carolina gave up 12 to the Jayhawks, and then they gave up 10 to USC Upstate. Remember that game? That was just kind of an anomaly, like, why is USC Upstate? Let's go, well, they were hitting some threes. Non-conference play, those are literally the only two times Carolina gave up double-digit three-point makes for the opposition. In Carolina's 3 ACC games, so Florida State, SMU, and Wake Forest, Carolina has given up double-digit three-pointers to all three opponents. And it was 12 to Florida State, which tied a season high, and then SMU and Wake both set the new season high, each making 14. So in the last 3 games, Carolina has given up 12, 14, and 14 threes, having only done so twice previously. Now, Stanford is not the three-point shooting team that, say, SMU was, but they're in the same range as Wake. And so just because you look at it and say, oh, Stanford's not a great three-point shooting team, well, neither was Wake, and look what they did. And so that's something that Carolina is going to have to contend with. That has got to shut down. You have to stop that trend. And what is the issue? Is it teams saying, well, look, Carolina's 2-point defense is so good, we don't think we can get inside the perimeter and contend at the rim with Caleb Wilson and Henri Veesaar, so we're just going to do the best we can from 3. Have teams found a wrinkle? Hey, Carolina is not switching well out top, and so we're going to float, get those open threes, and take them. We'll find out tonight, but that is something to definitely keep an eye on. Can Carolina get back on track with their 3-point defense? I'm very, very curious to see how that goes. So there you go. Defense has to get locked back in. And the 2 key things I'm watching for are, can you not shut down, because you're not going to shut down Okorie, but can you slow him down? Hold him under his, 15 or less maybe would be great, or at least inefficient shooting, right? And then secondly, can Carolina stop a 3-point barrage from happening from Stanford? That's the 2 main things I'm watching for. Defense back on track. All right. Caleb Wilson in these back-to-back kind of games for Carolina has had low production in the second half. Does it get fixed tonight? It better be, or Carolina's going to be looking at another tough win or maybe even another loss. We'll talk about that and the rest of the Four Corners preview coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about FanDuel, the college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action every single game day of the playoffs. Because right now, every college football playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost waiting for them right in the app. Go check it out next Monday during the national championship. Here's what I love about it. You get to use the profit boost on the bets you already feel good about. You can ride with the favorite. That'd be Indiana next Monday when you think they control the matchup, as I do. You can take a shot on the underdog. Maybe you feel like Miami is a team of destiny and you want to get in on that. Or you could build a parlay around the players and moments you think are going to ultimately decide the game. Then you apply the profit boost and go after even bigger winnings. Check it out. It's a perfect opportunity. Carolina tonight at Stanford, 2.5-point favorite. Can they get this first ACC road victory? We will find out. FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all college football playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boosts every game day. Thanks for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listen or watch of the day. Thanks for making the Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network. It's all because of you guys, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you have not checked out the brand new Everydayers Club, do that right now so you don't miss a second of the show. There's 2 different tiers. You can get all in on it. It's great. That link is in the show notes. Time for the Four Corners preview for Carolina at Stanford. #1, and this has been the biggest talking point of the last several days. Carolina has had an inability to get Caleb Wilson shots in the second half of the last 2 games. It's not a season-long trend. I've gone back and looked at all the numbers. It's just confined to these last 2 games. So right now, similar to some of what I was saying with those defensive numbers, right now, it's in anomaly territory. Right now, it's in outlier territory. But you do not want that to happen for a third straight game. Against SMU, Caleb got just 3 field goal attempts in the second half. Against Wake Forest on Saturday, just 2. Now, of course, he got to the free throw line sometimes, so there's some other shots that aren't technically counting, because if you put a ball up and it doesn't go in and it leads to free throws, that doesn't count for your field goal, right? So you understand what I'm saying there. But regardless of that, the point is Caleb Wilson's production has waned in the second half of each of the last 2 games. And so I've got all these questions running around in my head trying to solve that riddle. Has Caleb been like, he's so Tyler Hansbrough in that regard, where he just goes hard, and I love it. He was 1 rebound shy of a first half double-double on Saturday against Wake. And so the question is Caleb just wearing himself out in the first half and then he doesn't have it in the second half? Is it teammates not finding him, not being insistent on getting Caleb the ball? Is it opposing defenses guarding him differently once they figure out the wrinkles and how to contend with him? Regardless of the answer to all my myriad questions, the downturn in production of the last 2 games cannot continue if Carolina wants to be the team that they can be. 5 combined field goal attempts in those last 2 second halves is not going to cut it. And so, quite frankly, whether it's Caleb or whether it's Henri, who also only had 1 field goal attempt in the final 11 minutes of the Wake Forest game, Carolina has to be insistent on playing through these guys possession after possession after possession. And Coach Davis made some really good points on Monday's ACC media availability, coaches media availability, is that, look, just because Caleb isn't always getting up a shot doesn't mean he's not getting touches. And that's a great point from Coach Davis. Because for me, yes, I specifically want Caleb to get more shots. I specifically want Henri to get more shots. They're both so efficient with the basketball that it's got to happen. But at the very least, I need Carolina operating through them. Play inside out, which is something I've been begging for all season. And then don't settle for threes unless it's just wide open, great look threes. But when you get the ball to those guys, if you've got one-on-one, let them go to work. If they get doubled, let them move the ball. Get, in this case, Stanford in rotation. Get your best shot, whether that's an open 3, whether that's attacking a closeout, getting to the rim and finishing there. I don't care what it is, but you cannot abandon your 2 best players in the second half. Four Corners preview point number 2. What's going to happen with this guard rotation, this guard situation? Again, we had a starting lineup change on Saturday against Wake Forest. Luka Bogavac out of the starting lineup, Jarin Stevenson back in. So you had the same starting lineup that you had the first 2 games of the season with Kyan Evans, Seth Trimble, Jarin Stevenson, Caleb Wilson, and Henri Veesaar. Will we see that same starting lineup again? I expect so. Because Stanford does have some height, and so that would be good to help make sure that Carolina is matching up with that. But also, I think Coach Davis is going to want more than that single game sample size to figure out if that was the right movement. But then specifically with the guards and even wing situation, what's going to happen? Will we see Luka be relegated to not much time and not much production? I felt like because of him having less time against Wake Forest when he did get the ball, when he was in, I thought he was pressing a little bit, which I would too if my numbers get cut down. It's like, oh man, when I do get the ball, I got to get it up, right? Like I understand that, but that's an evolving thing to watch. Will Kyan Evans, will Derek Dixon be able to do more? Or will we see Seth Trimble take the lion's share of the point guard responsibilities, particularly down the stretch and particularly if it's a close game? Will we see Jaydon Young continue to produce and therefore get more minutes? Because it's not just like, oh, well, Jaden's been doing better, so we're going to give him more time. No, it's about Jaden got in the game. He was productive, so we kept him in and then gave him more opportunities later. So we'll watch that. How does Jonathan Powell factor into all of this? Again, I thought that he would be the one to start in place of Luka so that Jarin was still getting all those backup front court minutes. So there's just a lot there. And the problem is you see how many balls I'm juggling with those questions. Carolina does not have this backcourt situation figured out yet. And that's an issue for the season. The sooner they can get that out, the better shape they will be in because the front court's there and going. The backcourt needs to match it. Four Corners preview point number 3. One of the key things that the Tar Heels have to do specifically in this game from an X's and O's standpoint is keep Stanford off the free throw line. The Cardinal attempt just over 25 free throws a game, which is 38th in the nation. And the reason they do that is because they draw just over 20 fouls a game, which is 32nd in the nation. So they're really good about drawing fouls out of the opposition and then obviously getting to the free throw line. And they knock down a good number of them as well. They knock them down at a 72.8% clip. Here's the good news, though, for the Tar Heels. The Tar Heels don't foul much, and consequently, their opponents don't take that many free throws. So Carolina is 18th in the nation, committing just 14.6 fouls per game. They are 16th in the nation, allowing just 14.9 free throw attempts per game. So as a reminder, Carolina allows, let's call it 15 free throw attempts a game, while Stanford takes, let's call it 25 free throws a game. As always, it's that tug and pull. Which way is that tug of war rope going to go? Is it going to go closer to Stanford's 25 free throw attempts per game, or is it going to go closer to Carolina's just 15 allowed a game? If you see 20 or fewer free throw attempts by Stanford, that's going to put Carolina in great shape to win this basketball game. As you would expect, because of how we talked about him earlier, it's Ebuka Okorie doing the most work for Stanford at the free throw line, attempting 8.3 free throws a game. And then the second guy who also gets a bunch is Chisholm Akpara, getting 6.8 attempts per game. He's the starting power forward for the Cardinals. So we will watch that. For comparison's sake, Caleb's like right in between those guys, 7.9 attempts a game. So those are the two guys in particular that you got to keep off the line, Ebuka Okorie and Chisholm Akpara. So again, my target, hold Stanford to fewer than 20 free throw attempts. And so we're going to see how that all plays out. Four Corners preview point number 4. Stanford allows opponents the third fewest assists per game in the ACC. Carolina, on the other hand, averages the 5th most assists per game in the ACC. And part of that is they're putting a lot of pressure on the ball. Coach Davis said earlier this week, quote, defensively, their pressure on the ball is real, and that's how they cause a lot of steals and deflections. They're physical. That's something that's gonna be huge for us. For the most part, we've done a really good job taking care of the ball this year. Taking care of the basketball is going to be huge for us, end quote. So this is the thing. Stanford is going to get up into the Tar Heels a little bit. The Tar Heel guards are going to have to be very strong with the ball, going to have to be able to do that. And as well as continue to share the basketball as well as they can, because again, Stanford does not allow a whole bunch of assists. And that's part of what makes Carolina so good is their ability to have an assist rate around 62% right now. So we'll watch for that as well. So there you go. There's your Four Corners preview for this game. We will go live, obviously, after the game is over to talk about it, including breaking down the results of this Four Corners preview. Now, Carolina is going to be a small favorite tonight on the road at Stanford. Can they take care of business? We'll get to know the Cardinal and how this game is going to play out in just a second. Here we go. North Carolina at Stanford tonight, Wednesday, January 14th in Stanford, California at Maples Pavilion, 9 p.m. Eastern time for the tip, which is 6 p.m. local time there out in California. This game will be on ACC Network. FanDuel has the line Carolina by 2.5. The line is 2 at both KenPom and Torvik. All time, the Tar Heels lead this series 13-1. So literally, the only loss was that game last year where Stanford, was it a buzzer beater? I'm trying to remember now in real time what happened. I remember it was painful because it was like, hey, Carolina's got these losses, but at least they don't have a quad 3 loss. And then they got a quad 3 loss, 72-71 to the Cardinal. I'm trying to look back. I feel like Maxime Reynaud made a shot or Jalen Blakes made a shot right at the buzzer or something like that. Anyway, Carolina got some comeback, what do you call it? Revenge-minded Tar Heels. That's what I was looking for there. Kyle Smith is the coach of the Cardinal. He is in his second season. They're out in California. Stanford obviously not ranked in the AP poll. They were picked 17th in the preseason ACC poll. I think they are going to be finish much better than that. They have Okorie, who we've been talking about, and man, he's just great. And so there's no way they're going to finish next to last in the conference with this thing. Currently, they are 71st in the net. That makes this a quad 1 game because on the road, quad 1 is teams rated number 1 to 75. So just barely coming into that quad 1 status. Same will be true for Cal, by the way, although they play Duke tonight, and so we'll see. They might fall out of that status as well. At KenPom, they are 80th. At Torvik, 65th, so a little bit of variance there. At KenPom offense, 104. Torvik offense, 94, so around 100 there. And then defense, they are 59th at both. So it's defense where Stanford is better. But obviously, look, they could pop offensively. Okorie can do that himself. So far on the season, Stanford is 13-4 overall, 2-2 in ACC play. Their best non-con wins are St. Louis. And hear me say, you might be like, St. Louis, the Billikens, what are we doing? Listen, St. Louis is, if you don't count Gonzaga as a mid-major, St. Louis is the best mid-major in the nation right now. Remember, they've got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is his nickname. Man, homie's really good. Josh Schertz is a great coach there at St. Louis. So that's actually a very, very good win on a neutral court. Better than a lot of people would realize. Colorado and Minnesota, those are their other good wins as well. And then all of their other 10 wins are all bye games in non-con play. In ACC play, they're 2-2. So their ACC wins are at home against Louisville, which is really nice win. They were without Michael Brown, so there is that, who's now missed 7 straight games for Louisville with a back injury. And then they also won at Virginia Tech. That's a nice win last week for Stanford. Their non-con losses, they had 2 of them, both at home against Seattle and against UNLV, neither of which are losses that you want to take, particularly the Seattle game. In ACC play, their losses are at home to Notre Dame. That game, oh man, I just remember that game was like 47-40 or something atrocious like that, y'all. I mean, so bad. And then the other one was at Virginia. Understandably, Virginia's a really good team. Did you see Virginia and Louisville last night? Yeah, these Cavs started like that game 14-0 run at Louisville in the Yum Center. Crazy stuff there. So anyway, losing at Virginia, totally understandable. The personnel for Stanford, their usual starters, and they've messed around with their starting lineup a good bit, but at least the last 3 games, it's been Ebuka Okorie, who starts at the 1. He's 6'2", 185 pounds. As a reminder, he's a freshman. At the 2 is Benny Gieler, who is 6'1", 185. So Carolina's going to have some size advantage in the backcourt. The nice thing about Gieler being a bit smaller at the 2 is that means that Kyan Evans can guard him while Seth is on Okorie at the 1. So that's a helpful thing there. At the 3, Ryan Agarwal is 6'6", 202-pound junior. Excuse me. At the 4, we mentioned him earlier, but Chisham Akpara is a 6'8", 240-pound senior. And then at the 5 is Oscar Gilte, who is 6'10", 235 pounds. He's another freshman. He's the one that's kind of worked his way into the starting lineup the last couple games. The depth pieces, there's a couple guys they rotate through, but the 4 names you see popping up most commonly, and the 4 guys that have The next most minutes are Jeremy Dent-Smith, who's a 6'1 guard. He's a senior. Aiden Kaman, who's a 6'10 sophomore. AJ Rahosi, who has started 14 games. So he's the guy that's been kind of shifted out of the lineup lately. He's 6'9", 230-pound senior. And then Donovan Young, who's a 6'8", 220-pound sophomore. So that's kind of the personnel that you need to know here for Stanford. As we get to some predictions for this game, look, it is not time to mess around. Carolina has done that. Remember, they got off to that great start against Wake and then let Wake right back into it. But I say right back into it. That's actually not true. They held Wake at bay for the first 30 minutes of the game, basically, and it was the last 10 minutes. So when you're on the road, you cannot, like, I'll take that 14-0 Virginia start, right? Like, that's the kind of thing you're looking for here, is to start well and then just try to take Stanford's soul right out of the gate. So get after it. Be ready from the tip of this basketball game. As a reminder also, I said this on yesterday's show, but literally in the 11 teams that have made the trip out to Northern California from the ACC, only one of them has swept both games. That was Wake last year. The only way to sweep is to win the first one. And so Carolina has an important task ahead of them tonight at Stanford. My prediction, I hate that it's going to be I'm going to predict Carolina to win, but I'm going to go close here, 75-71. A tough road game, but Carolina comes away victorious. That's what I'm predicting for it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how the game will play out. All right, you guys, thanks so much for being here with me on a Wednesday to get ready for this late night game. Yes, I know it's going to be late, but we will go live after the game. Make plans to be here with me and to hang out. Would love you to join us after the game tonight. If you've not subscribed to Locked On Tar Heels on video and audio, do it right now so you don't miss a second of the show. If you've not checked out the brand new Everydayers Club, you can do that as well. That link is in the show notes, as is the link for the Locked On Tar Heels Discord. We'd love for you to join us there. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. Talk to you tonight after the game, but until then, peace.